Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Welcome, everyone, to the 363rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 14th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond. I'll be a host today. And of course, we are joined with Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will be presenting today's workshop. And I think he is ready to go. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you there?
Yes, good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers of the Keshe Foundation and Spaceship Institute, we welcome you back to nearly 7 years of teaching completed, hopefully by next week, that we enter on the 8th year of teaching. Non-stop sharing of knowledge and some 3,000-4,000 hours of teaching in public and private teachings running more than that. We try to expand the knowledge that by 21st of March, we'll start a new cycle. Many of the knowledge seekers, as I attend different private teachings, have a question. What is going to happen on 21st of March? Is it going to be a new calendar? Is it going to be a date that we start a new cycle? Is it going to be a massive change that what we've been waiting for? Some people ask, is it the beginning of what was called the return of many things? In fact, 21st of March is beginning of the new cycle of what we call enlightenment for mankind. Does not mean that the whole humanity will be enlightened in one go and everything will change. It's the process that humanity and the universe, the universal community, enter simultaneously a cycle of completion. To become, to understand, to share the knowledge, not with words, but through understanding of the structure of interaction of the fields of the universe. Even though to humankind, the voice is the ultimate way to listen, to hear, to talk, to share, or in other means of what mankind has made for himself, computer lines and the rest of it. In essence, everything is made of magnetic field, interaction of the magnetic field, and in that process, we make one language. That the whole of the universe and unicos, all humanity and those beyond will be able to interact, to understand the interaction of the fields of their lives. What does it mean? What does it actually brings about? How would we as human race interact with these situations? How do we see ourselves and the rest to be? We see it as 2021, the process and the beginning of the new cycle for mankind, where humanity will meet and understand the total process of life in a way where humanity and unicos will become to understand each other, where mankind can transmute between the matter state and the field. And in a way, as one guy was asking, is that from now on we can hide ourselves? This is not the way to be, because you might be able to hide your physicality by extension of the fields of your source of your soul, but still you're visible to the others as a field, as an interaction of the field. In a way, it is not hide and duck, but to be seen and to be more transparent. In a way, it is not escapism, but is to be open and transparent, that man become responsible, does not matter in a physical dimension or in the dimension of fields of the interaction of his existence with the others. One point which I raised last week was, we have the 5 cups. What is the 6th cup? Which we spoke about, the cup of universe, where mankind can interact with the fields of universe, which is magnetic gravitational field forces of this universe. But there is a cup 7. The cup 7, it brings the totality of the man with its creator. When mankind can understand the progress and the development of the structure of communication, what we call the cup 7, which is a cup of the Creator, will be open to man. In the way you constructed cup of life, the way you did the structure of the vertical or horizontal or solid or a gas or a liquid state, you create the what we call the cup of plasma, creation of the interaction of the fields of the universe. For the first time, mankind will be able to receive, to understand the knowledge of the universe simultaneously from the Creator, which is man himself part of, with the structure of his Creator. What does this mean? It means, in a way, for the first time, as you have seen, and you build the first cup with a one cup, one life, you'll be able to create fields that, and by the strength of the creation of your soul, will be able to interact, to receive, like the messengers of God, the knowledge of the Creator. In a way, there is no need for intermediaries. This might be far-fetched for man at this moment through his knowledge, but those who have evolved in knowledge, understanding and technology in the Unicos will understand immediately what they've been waiting for. To be able to be part of, and to be able to be in touch with, and to be able to share with knowledge across the Unicos. The cup of Creator is the ultimate goal. In a way, you call it the 7th chakra. In a way, we call it the cup of Creator. In a way, everything has to work perfectly according to the understanding and the intellect of the man to be able to reach to that point, or any other creature. The cup of Creator, the cup of life, is all the same. Is an understanding of one's own soul and interaction of the fields within the structure of one's life. There are two very important, which is what we call the cup of universe, will become the most important thing for mankind to move on to, where he can transmute his soul, where he can, in a way, be able to interact with the other fields. This phase will take mankind thousands of years, and it can take a man a few seconds. This is dependent on the clarity and devotion and servitude in serving, or what we call loving. There is nothing more important in the cycle of the life than loving, which is the giving. What we give, that we can receive, that in the process of cycle of receiving and giving, we reach to the point that we recycle the fields of the universe and we pick up the best. What will elevate us? Many of you have not understood what it means by what you give more, you receive more. In a way, but what you do not need, which is within the structure of your fields of your soul, you create vacuum, you create a space to receive, and in the process of receiving, you take what allows you to elevate your soul, to be able to move in different dimensions. As I was explaining in one of the teachings in the past week, mankind has the knowledge, mankind has the capability of creating anything through his soul. Many of you might ask how and why. As I explained yesterday in the Iranian teaching to the Farsi knowledge seekers, I explain again. You got to understand, your soul is the creator of you. Your soul is the creator of every part of you, because the interaction of your soul and the fields of the what we call planet Earth in interaction with the fields of the Unicos, allows your body to create hemoglobin. It allows your body to create your liver, your intestine, your brain. And the interaction of it gives you shape, your body, your feature, your physical manifestation. But in essence, the interaction between the soul and the soul of the planet creates iron in your blood, creates calcium for your bone. It creates particles of gold which the body needs at given point in the body of the man. So, in fact, we don't need to look for another system to create the matter state of manifestation of the man, or anything man needs. If your body creates calcium at a given point within the structure of his physicality, isn't it by the wish and the will of what you call DNA or RNA of the soul of the man with the interaction of the fields of the planet? The iron does not suddenly appear in your blood. The iron does not suddenly vanishes from your blood. The interaction of the field of the soul. Can you hear me? Is it back?
Sorry, I think we lost just the last sentence there, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, I understand. I got trapped somewhere in the microphone. What we said was that is the hemoglobin is made of iron. Even every cell of your body is made of materials. But these materials are made by the interaction of the fields of your soul with the soul of the planet. Therefore, in your RNA and DNA, what you call the memory bank of your soul and your physicality, mankind has the knowledge through his soul to create anything. This is what I said before. You can hold your hand out and extend the field strength of your soul and create gold in the palm of your hand, because your body has already made it for different part of your body where it needed it. You can put your hand out and create calcium because your body has already made calcium in the attraction of its fields and in the universe and the soul of the man and the planet, your bone structure, your teeth. Then we understand for the first time, mankind has the capability to create what he thinks through his soul. We don't need machinery. We don't need systems. We don't need dynamic systems. If man uses the dynamics of his soul with the interaction of the dynamic soul of the planet or the universe, in so many ways, when the mankind and those who are the passengers of the universe understand the strength of the soul in interaction with the fields of the Creator, shall see the soul of the Creator. As we said, like the electron with the proton, as they are smaller in the interaction with the light, with the fields of the Creator, mankind will manifest itself with the light as the electron. And this is how in the future mankind will interact. Mankind will understand how to manifest itself and how to be manifested the same. Does not matter if it's in the presence of a lover or the Creator, as the soul of the man will carry the same field strength. In so many ways, if you understood and understand the past 10 minutes teaching, we have shown you the way to the Creator. We have shown you the way to yourself, that how you can create and manifest yourself in the dimension of the Creator. My teachings are complete, but in so many ways, it's mankind who has to understand, and the rest of the universal community, how to use the knowledge the understanding of the new knowledge to progress his way to become unified. We call it one planet, one nation, one race. We call it one universe, one race. In so many ways, by amalgamation of the races of the universe and unicos, we bring peace, unity, and collective understanding of the knowledge of the Creator. In a way, this is the way we plan to share the knowledge of the universe simultaneously across the universe, with the birth of every soul and the outset of the birth of every soul. And this is why we call it, we need one soul to trigger. Einstein, in one of his papers, which he could not understand it, called it the funny thing. He said, when an electron moves polarity, another electron does the same simultaneously. This is that funny thing. This is what Einstein could not understand. Now we understand. By elevation of one soul, the rest of the soul of the universe will move to the same strength. In a way, it moves to understand, it moves to accommodate the new strength, and by accommodating, all will turn in one switch. The birth of new life, the creation of new life, coming on 21st of March, will be the essence of what we call the promised one. This is what has been and what will be carried out. You got to realize many things which I explained in the past few days. 2021 is the year of progress from 20 to 21, maturity of the man. At the same time, collective numbers of what it comes to be 5. The same this year, March 21st, the calendar of one path of the belief going the same to Muhammad will collectively be 1400, which is 5 again. It's the cycle of balance. It's the cycle of the unity. In so many ways, everything will become one. And in so many ways, mankind reaches the point of maturity and it needs one soul to take everything over. It takes one soul to be made out of pure love and creation that will change the society of the unicos in one click. It has the power of the Creator to be able to switch, and with it, the enlightenment of the unicos and universe will be established. This is not what we dream about, this is what we set out to be done, and our wish is our command. In so many ways, mankind will be free from the shackle of the wealth and will be free from the shackles of physicality. It depends on how man understands the structure and the work of his soul. In the next few weeks, gradually we build you up to understand the time, the promised time, that the change will come. And it'll come through the blood of Mitra. And it'll be established on that way on this planet. Is the merger of the universe and the humanity. Is the measure of the completion of the cycle of the creation, where there shall be no need for messengers, but it will be completion of the message from the Creator to the created, with no intermediaries. The cycle of prophets has been a way that different races in the universe, according to the establishment of life and the cycle of soul, has been run up to now. This way, it makes it easy, as everything will be born with a basic knowledge of the unicos from the beginning. Every race will receive the same knowledge and the same energy that all races from the point of establishment will be able to siphon, to understand the process of creation. And in this process, no race in the universe will be faster or higher than the other, as all understand and will be enlightened by the same soul. in a way, in the structure of the plasma physics, we call the dark matter, what we call the principle, will become the same for all created souls across the universe. In a way, what this means, we all start from the same basic, the same ground, the same equality and the same balance of knowledge. Does not matter where, which country on this planet, or where in which planet, or where in which universe you are born. The light of the Creator, the knowledge of the creation will be received simultaneously at the same time. In a way, with a new understanding and the new wish of the Creator, the whole of the universe will be phased one level up, that the knowledge will become the basis for equality prior to the creation and completion of any cycle of creation anywhere in the universe. In a way, when you go from Earth to another planet, to another position in the universe, you will speak and you will be understood, and your knowledge will be equal to the knowledge of the rest. This goes to my promise from the beginning of the teaching, and that was, we'll take the man to universal community, not to be a slave, a subordinate, but equal. As the whole universe, with what we taught you today and the past years, have been brought to be in that position, that there is no race higher than the other, and all races are equal. This has been the wish of the man, and in so many ways, we have completed the cycle of creation. Now is teaching how mankind can be kind to itself, and at the same time, humanity has to learn one thing: end of division of races, language, and culture. In a way, end of many other things. We have seen in the past few days, as we said, end of kingships, and we have seen end of presidentship by hand of their own in the past week. What has happened in the United States in past 7 days has brought a lot of changes which will have profound effect on humanity, where we will see that there shall be no one higher than another, not even the president. In so many ways, everything is set for humanity to move in one direction. What has happened in past 7 days in the United States has laid the path for our wish to complete the cycle, that there shall be no leader, as all will be equal. In a coming cycle of administrations and world leaders who will see this pattern of conduct, that will change the whole understanding of human race. This was our wish, that no one is higher than the other. And this is done by the man himself. If we do it, it's done because of. If you do it, it's done through, and the reason for. In so many phases, we'll see in 2021 the end of religions. In 2021, we'll see end of leadership the way it has been, as leaders will lead, but on equal term and basis of the rest of the citizens. We'll see the end of kingships, as the palaces will be emptied, as there'll be no king, and there'll be house for those who wish to bring the kingdom of God to their land. It is our promise, and it'll be fulfilled. In so many ways, we have seen from the first week of this year, 2021, the changes in the ethos of understanding of mankind in leadership, in how no one will accept leading or to be led, but accepts to understand the reason what things need to be done, that will follow the same. There is one thing for mankind which has to develop, and in a way, through Corona has reached that point, But that's been our way to do. Mankind does not need to work to live. Nowhere in the universe, in any culture, beings work to live. Their life, their soul is taken into slavery to be able just to keep the physicality. In so many ways, we never seen, and we hope that we shall never see this again. That one race divides itself into a way to abuse the others. In so many ways, does the cell of your heart, does the cell of your brain gets paid to create a condition through its operation for you to live? Does it take holidays, or does it work as a slave? Or is it there because of the creation of his soul to serve the others to exist? The life of the man and the soul of the man, and operation of the soul of physicality of the man from now on will be in that process, as is the cell within his body. So we do not need to work to be a slave to food, to shelter, and to be abused by those who see this as a way to prove the meager ego. If you understood how the cell of your body works without payments, and going to factory and waking up every day, that is the time for me to operate, and is there through the cycle of his life to operate and serve 24 hours a day, then you understand how the true work of the universe is. And with the progress and development and understanding of the new cycle of life, through the structure of the interaction of the field of the soul of the man, no man will need to work unless he wishes to serve. No man needs to create anything, but is there to create to serve. This way, through the freedom of cycle of interactions, every improvement and man will achieve much more, and the unique citizens will achieve much more, as the reward is servitude. In so many ways, our soul goes through its evolution to create a better working physical life, to be able to stand the changes in the cycle of the changes within the soul of this planet and the solar system and the creation in the universe. From now on, man will do the same. Man will become that cycle. Man will become to understand, it will evolve through his soul. It will create new knowledge. It will create new tools for the comfort of the physical life if he decide to be in it. And with it, he shall not be a slave to nothing, as it does it for the love of the Creator, and it does it to serve the rest of the creation. This allows what we across the universe. In so many ways, mankind has always been aware of this, but not open to it. In the coming time and discussions, we shall see how mankind will evolve to this point. We shall see from 21st of March onwards, as the soul takes its shape, as this soul creates dimension to carry the soul of every existing citizens of universe as part of a structure, will change the course of humanity, how mankind will reach to understand new levels of understanding beyond the present imagination of the man, and with it, we start a new cycle, a new era, a new progress, not only for mankind, but for the whole citizens of the universe and universe. In a way, The whole structure is not because of what's happening on this planet. The whole change in the structure is because of the love of the Creator to celebrate the beauty of this planet and why it has been chosen to be the birthplace of the new cycle. Earth is a beautiful place. Earth has many beauties, and it has one fault, and that is the man has allowed his physicality to be abused and out of control of his soul. And with this knowledge and with this new cycle, we bring that balance back, that from now on, not only the human race, due to the combination of the interaction of the fields of this planet, the whole planet will become as was promised, where the lamb and the lion will nest in the same place. And mankind does not need to eat, to taste the flesh, but if he needs, he can imagine, and he with imagination will receive whatever he needs. One shall not kill to attain energy, but shall give to receive what he needs in the love and the care of the life and the creation. My promise is very simple. I have delivered what I promised. It's for mankind to understand the next cycle. It's for mankind to understand the progress in its soul, not in machinery and in the others. Some of you will go to use cups. Some of you will go to use dynamic systems to confirm the existence of your soul. But that, in fact, is nothing but a confirmation to you and to your soul only. We make transmutation and transportation of the fields within the dimension of the universe a free knowledge. In a way, every man can change any energy to any element according to the wish of his soul, if he has balanced his book. In a way, mankind and the rest of the races in the universe can take position anywhere in the universe without the use of what you like to call it, UFOs and the rest. We give you the dimension of the pleasure in the dimension of physicality, or pleasure in the dimension of the soul of the man. The option is mankind. We fall in love because loving is the progress and part of the structure of the Creator. Mankind will see nothing but the pleasures of existence. Mankind will see and feel the pleasure of the touch of the soul, the touch of the physicality. In so many ways, we bring mankind and the rest of the universe to unified fields in a way that we all take from one field, which is the field of the Creator. According to our position and to our strength, we reach and we understand the soul of the Creator, and with it, we adopt it to fit us at the point of the manifestation. As I said, I have completed my teaching. In a way, by today's teaching, I can say goodbye. In a way, the book of life of the Unicos is closed. And in a way, the knowledge of the man has reached the point of maturity that mankind in the coming time will strive to find a way to achieve this. Whatever has been promised has been delivered, and now is for the soul of man to strive to reach the ultimate goal, not for the physicality of the man. In this process, mankind will realize one point, and that is, it's me who has to mutate, it's me who has to evolve, and it's me who has to endeavor to understand the understanding of the mutation of the fields. If I want to be at the strength of the field of the Creator to understand, I can choose so. If I want to be at the field strength of the life on this planet, I can choose so. I can choose to be a tree. I can choose to live the life of a man. I can live the life of a lion to feel how it feels, to see the universe and my environment from different horizons. In reality, mankind reaches the point of maturity at the same time as the rest of the citizens of the universe. In so many ways, we still carry on with teaching to elevate you more, to find new ways to reach the level of the strength that you can interact and be able to realize the field of interaction with your Creator. In so many ways, if all of you or some of you be able to replicate the true structure of what we call the cup of life, you shall reach that point. As I said in one of the teaching in the past week, it's a monkey see, monkey does, and the monkey does not go far as his cup is. It's the same with the structure of the fields of the universe. We have to understand how we do things, how we structure things. When you look at the cup of life, when you look at the cup of the soul, it's not made of one item. It's not just the zinc and copper. How many elements are in the structure of the body of the man? How many elements, or what we call different magnetic fields, create the soul of the man? And how, in which dosage? And every change of a dose, every change of field strength will create different soul. And that is the process of the creation. If you have strived to make the cup of soul, how many elements in what ratio, which is the structure of your soul, have you put into that cup? It's not anymore 2 metals or 3. And in so many ways, where can you find all the elements to put in one cup? This goes back to understanding of the strength of the fields, where now you need to understand how you bring the fields into play in a cup, that the interaction leads to creation of your soul, strength of your soul. And the interaction between your soul and the cup you created will light up because it's of the same strength. And then you shall see your soul, or you shall see how your soul looks in the mirror of what you have created in the cup. Then you understand. As I said, we taught you the simple steps. Now is for those who understand the knowledge to extend it more and allow, through new understanding of the fields and interaction of the fields, for mankind to be able to create its soul. When we create soul of a new life in the universe, we collect from all the fields of the universe, not just one. When we create a child of the universe, what we call through the soul, we collect from the best of every soul in the creation, not just one field. If you look, it's the same is done in the creation of the man. When you create that child, the best which your soul can provide through the soul of physicality become the essence of that child, which you pass on through your egg or a sperm for the next cycle. Now, this has to become part of the same for humanity in creating the children of the soul. You have to collect the best which is in the universe to become part of the soul of your child, of your creation, be it a star, you be it a planet, you be it in the body of entity anywhere in the universe. In a way, you shall decide how you want to serve. Do I want to be, or due to my conduct, do I place, or have I been placed to be a cell in a body of an animal or a tree, to be subordinate, or to be one single cell star which shines as the size of the biggest star in the universe? What you gathered, it makes you that sun, it makes you that star. And what you have carried out, not only in a physical life, from now on in the dimension of the soul, will decide the structure of your life and what you shall be in a coming time. Mankind has reached the point of maturity. In a way, it is the responsibility of you and you alone to mature your soul and to receive and to be able to give. In a way, we call it detachment. But detachment does not mean end of existence, but it means to be the best in being able to serve, in being able to give. In so many ways, we become a recycling, that we give all which we receive to be given, and we hold on and we store the best that we can give more in a bigger dimension. And if you look, it's the story of your physical life. You eat, you consume everything. And what is the residual field is used for your daily existence, to heat your body, to be able to create motion, to be able to create energy for the thoughts of the man. But the best and the cleanest and more purified ones, what will happen to it is added to the soul of the man, to be used to elevate the soul. In a way, you give through the operation of your cell everything back into your environment. You're an antenna of the field where you take and you give the best out, that you can give more out because of your volume. In a way, if you look at it, you eat a small apple, but it's filled with energy, expands through your body, that covers the more area to give, more volume to give. In a way, mankind looks at even the feeding in a different way if you understand this process. That is, we take a small entity as an apple, we use its fields, and then through its fields we radiate out as what we call aura, our intellect, and everything else. In a way, we show the beauty of it in what we have taken from, and what in essence is the more powerful part, which is the most minutest part, will be added to serve the soul of the man, to elevate the soul of the man. This is why we take time and what we call age, to be able to store enough in the soul that it can elevate to the point where it can depart the physicality. What we teach is continuous, and in a way, step by step, for mankind to understand the progress of his life. If the energy of an apple, very tiny, can hold to itself, and the progress and consumption of it by the body of the man now can become the field to radiate, to change the direction and position of other cells, to evolve, even that'll be the soul of the man or the physicality of the man, we see the purpose of the life in that apple. This is what mankind has to understand. How to evolve the soul of the solid and the gases and the liquids into the soul of himself. To add to it. To be able to create from it, to give the best out, that what is left in the strings as residual can be added to his soul, that he can give at a higher order to create the next generation. In so many ways, what I call is like a man who works, and out of the wage he takes home every month, he puts a little bit aside as a saving. This is what we do when we interact and consume other souls. In a way, we put part of theirs to become part of us in our soul, that elevates our soul. When our soul creates the planet or the solar system, it has the essence and the soul of the apple you ate as a human, because it's part of your creation. In so many ways, that is why we say, do not kill, do not destroy. Because now you do not need to take the apple to destroy a life, to be able to receive its beauty and its strength. It's in a way we understand that the totality of the creation becomes one. I want to be the feel of that apple that you enjoyed, that in the time when you become the star I'm part of, I become part of the soul of the creation, what you create as a creator of the planetary or a solar system. When you say, I love you, it means I do. And it means I give everything I have. It means, in essence, I've been fortunate enough to receive from all aspects and dimensions, that in totality, I want to become the giver of all. In the coming time, as we said, those of you who choose to travel as a collection of souls, you will create, you will have what we call, like you have today, a soul of totality, what we call the captain. That you trust your soul within that structure to be looked after, that captain becomes the totality of one solar system, one sun, that from it, the new generation of perfection will be created. In so many ways, mankind enters the field of understanding the process of the creation, the true essence of the creation, through its creator, and through what we call the possessor of love, Mehran. This means what it gives. It has, and it has no reason but to give, as it possesses every love in every creation and every soul. Mankind needs to understand this process. Mankind needs to evolve, to graduate to the level of the understanding of his own soul, that in a coming time, as the whole of the human race, as one body, enters the universal community, there is no soul left behind. But we take all, we elevate all to the same understanding, that in that process of creation, life becomes worth living and life becomes worth sharing. In so many ways, mankind reaches the point of maturity. By today's teaching, I have given from my soul to the whole of the creation, to elevate to the same level of understanding and knowledge. And in that process, We shall see a new evolution in understanding of new science and technology by human race and those who are the travelers of the universe. In so many ways, we do not need to travel through instruments, tools and machinery, but we travel to the dimension of the soul of the man. Many of you as human race with the soul of the man will elevate to that position very rapidly. And in that process, you shall take your position not only as equal to others on this planet, but across the universe. I don't have a wish as the totality of which has been fulfilled. The understanding and mutation of the energies and the fields of the universe is in the hand of the man to evolve and to understand. And mankind and many other races in the universe need the small tools, the processes for him or for the rest to understand the totality of what we call evolution of the soul of the man to his ultimate cost, to his ultimate position. And when we complete this cycle of understanding by the soul of the man, mankind shall see his creator, where he is part of, and he become to be as part of totality. The teaching of the soul we started some 2 or 3 years ago was for today, for the completion of understanding of the soul of the man. And in so many ways, we have delivered the promised message that mankind will find peace with itself and what we call in so many different paths of religion and faith, the promised day, the ultimate day. And in that process, mankind now understands what he needs to do to achieve that ultimate goal and point. In so many ways, when we meet on what they call 364th meeting of the knowledge seekers next Thursday, it will be the first day of the beginning of the new administration in the United States. And with it will be a beginning of the 8th year of the teaching of the Keshe Foundation. And with it, there is no coincidence. We set our way and we announced long before that what we expect to see, and in that progress, science will take lead in 2 nations across this planet, one in the United States and one in Iran. And in that process, a new establishment of the structures for this will be set, that mankind will evolve in a very fast way in science, technology and religion, that all become one, that all will meet in the same place. The advanced technology and advanced understanding of the creation and the creator shall bring everything together, that in that process, tools will be made for humanity to evolve in a new direction and dimension to understand the operation of his soul, the evolution, and what we call the totality of his own creation. Let's see what 2021 will bring for mankind. A new cycle of life, a new soul, and with it, the change of totality for the whole creation. To love and to be loved is the right of every soul on this planet, which means to give and to be able to receive. And with this, we end the time for what we call punishment, as all will receive the same and all will give as they don't need and they use back to the cycle. In a way, there is no reason to hold on to what is not needed. The wealth on this planet will worth nothing, and the time will be nothing but those who evolve to develop and to serve. In a way, as we said many times, this is our annual report for the cycle of creation for billions of years, where now we balance the books and we bring all the races of creation to one. It's for the scientists in the level of the human race to understand and evolve and try to show and extend the level of understanding and evolve and enlighten the soul of those who have not, to reach the point of maturity through their understanding. As I said, every man will take from this knowledge according to their intellect and understanding, but the intellect does not need university and college and degrees, but it needs to understand the structure of the creation of the universe and the creator. In so many ways, but as we reach March 21st, we close the book of the past and we start a fresh book for the life of the creation, not only on this planet, but beyond. In the coming times and weeks, we will make many cups, and we encourage you to make, because this is the sandbox where you test to see your soul and understand the work of your soul and how you become part of the Unicos and the Creator. As I said before, we thank you for being passengers of the knowledge in past years with us, and in so many ways we have reached the final stop. It's now time to gather what you gathered while you've been traveling, to see how you can evolve and elevate your souls and those who've been the travelers of this the same plane and train. It's the final stop, and it's time to gather to understand the totality. As I said, we'll be here to guide you furthermore with everything possible that mankind can gradually evolve into this progressive understanding of totality. In so many ways, I will ask you one question. What is your wish, and how would you like to communicate with your Creator? Not only your soul, but the soul of the Creator. And in that process, where do you see yourself? As a subordinate, or as equal, or as part of? And how you see yourself will station you in a position of the level of your soul. Maybe some of you understood the last two sentences, and if you understood the meaning of, you have managed to find a way to your Creator, or at least your soul. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I think we have to allow the attendees to raise their hands, and then they can ask their questions. And there is a couple of questions already in the Q&A. And Salamia is asking, I think you've answered much of this already, but I'll put it forward. She says, what is love? What is peace? What is the relation with the plasma? Is love gravitation or maggrav or magnetical? That was her first question. Perhaps we can interact that with the second question, which is totality is linked and interacts beyond time and space. Consciousness of the divine is fundamental, or the soul?
Can you read that again?
Okay, both of them. Let's start at the top. She says, let's just deal with the first one perhaps first. What is love? What is peace? What is the relation with the plasma? Is love gravitation or maggrav or magnetical? Would you like to address that?
When you talk about what is love, we always said love is means giving. Is love peace? When you give that you don't hold, you're at peace. When you have to judge what I give, what I don't give, that's not love anymore. Love has to be unconditional. And in so many ways, even the part which you need, if it's a need for another cycle to exist, it's your responsibility to give unconditionally and irrespective of what might happen to me or what I could be or what I be of me. Because as you give more, you receive. In reality, as you give from the highest order, you will receive from the lowest order that collectively will become equal in the strength to the highest you give to fulfill the gap. Is the conversion that mankind has to learn, where we give from the highest, we receive from the lowest, and in that process, in trying to replace the highest, we elevate the lowest to the highest. And in a way, it's the way the soul of the man works. It's the way the soul of the creator works. As he receives from the mega soul of a man, and as he's given so much, it elevates the strength of the lower to the higher by amalgamation of those who have received collectively. And so when you don't have to choose what I give, but you give as you know in the process you will receive to have to give more, you're at peace. So love and peace is the same. When you don't have to choose. When you have to choose, you're not in love. When you give unconditionally, is the process we are at peace. You can choose if you want who you want to love, but you will not receive what you have been given. And this process is the same throughout the creation, even for the creator. So what is magnetical becomes gravitational, and what is gravitational becomes magnetical. In the process of giving or magnetical, you split the strength into subdivisions. In the process of gravity, you bring the subdivisions to collectively become the stronger. And this is what most of you, as what are called knowledge seekers, have not grasped the concept and the understanding of. In a way, when you give, when you are magnetical, you open yourself to interact. And in opening yourself to interact, you create divisions, because in interaction you give some to one, or the energy divides and subdivides. In gravitational, you bring all whatever has come from the other subdivisions to become of the highest, collectively of the same strength. In a way, gravitational leads to the division and to the splitting that allows more to exist, more to receive. And gravitational is where you collect to be able to give. As we say, the bank is never empty.
Okay, what about the question that Salome has about the totality is linked and interacts beyond time and space, and which is more fundamental, consciousness of the divine or the soul?
Isn't the consciousness of divine and the soul the same? If you see a division or separation or two different things, it means one has not understood the true essence of the creation and the work of the universe.
Okay, Salomea says in the Q&A, my soul is connected with yours. Thank you. We have a question from Steve in the Q&A. He says, hello, Mr. Keshe. Our soul is small compared to the sun. Does that mean the sun had a bigger desire to serve the galaxy and therefore match with the physical size? Thank you.
A clear understanding. Our soul and the size of the environment that our soul covers is dictated by the other fields which allow it to grow into. The solar cell, the solar system, can only take shape and dimension according to what is other fields within its environment that dictates its size and controls it. So the size of our sun can expand due to the environment within the galaxy, which allows it to be so big that so many planetary systems can be evolved in it. In the world of creation, we create that limitation by the structure of the physical body of the man, the skull. Field forces that can control the fields of the soul or contain the fields of the soul to a limitation of not being able to move or be within the center of its structure. If you understand this, you understand why we are even created. Is not the size, is the environmental limitation which dictates the size. And mankind, due to the pressures and the positions on this planet, create different cages for the soul. That is why all the Chinese look the same, and all the Europeans in the shape look the same according to where they live and how they interacted. And once we take the soul of the man out of the atmosphere of this planet, it does not need the calcium to contain it, because the calcium field most probably is in a strength parallel to someone else in the position of universe, and you have a soul with no skull and a brain opened up. This is why we take mankind to the knowledge of transmutation of the fields, as the elements are made of fields, and there is always possibility and availability of the equal balanced field that dilutes the field of the energy of the physicality and bring demise to it. This is why we teach the dimension of the travel through the soul, as even with the UFOs or whatever you call it, if you enter a zone where the fields become like a sugar in a glass of hot tea will dissolve, your craft would not exist. But the soul of the man evolves by the strength in respect to his environment. This is why we are teaching the expansion and travel through the soul of the man. One of the reasons we teach the structure of the soul and traveling through the soul, if we leave you with a dimension of UFO, you'll be the passengers of this universe. Only then we have to send another teaching and knowledge for you how to cross the unicos. From one universe to another. As I said, the knowledge we share will become part of the soul of the universe and unicos. And your children and children of your children to come will take this knowledge as a basic knowledge, and they will know. Do not need to go through the teachings, as it's already been taught to your soul, and through your soul you will share. The size of the soul might on this planet be a peanuts in the center of your brain, and in another dimension, in the open span of the universe, will be the biggest solar system, as the fields and the strength of the fields will allow it to be. The size of our soul is dictated by the cage we have built for it. We call it the skull of the man. And in the protection of the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, we have created different layers in it that carries and transfers information from the physical to the what we call the soul of the man, what we call the emotion and the brain. The brain of the solar system is from the sun to beyond Jupiter and Saturn. And in gap in between the brain is the hollow space we see between us and the sun. We are part of maybe is happiness, where another planet is where is joy, and another planet is where is all the sadness. The structure of the universe is the same in micro and macro. So shall be, as we've seen, they say in the plasma of a neutron, we have all sorts of kryptons and whatever they're made of. The creation of the entity in the field of the matter state is according to the strength of the observer's field strength. We are all part of one plasma or the other, and we are all in interaction with other plasmas one way or another. The soul of the cell on our skin is interaction with the soul of our physicality. And our soul of physicality is interaction with the soul of the man, and the soul of the man is interaction with the soul of the solar system, and so forth. We all confirm our existence through the interaction and manifestation of our existence of our soul and mutation of its strength.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I see in the Q&A that Beatrice has a question. She says, good night. I have a question. The heart and soul are connected?
Of course they are. They are connected by fields and the interaction of what they do. The heart gathers the field strength of the what we call soul of the man, physicality soul, and the soul of the man is positioned just above it, but he'll receive it. If you look at the soul of the animals and soul of the physicality of animals, or the trees, or what we call plants, or solid state, you always find alignment between the two. Because one, in a way, delivers its field. When you have emotional strength, the field strength of the heart cannot handle the pain of physicality in releasing his energy to his soul. In not having the right strength, hits your brain and gives your brain a stroke. In a way, the eruption of the fields from your heart, from the what we call interaction of the soul of physicalities, in moving, being in touch with the what we call the soul of the man, in delivering different connections and energies to control the strength of the cage, which is holding the soul, in rapid process leads to damages like a volcanic eruption to the brain cells, and you find yourself with different physicality damage. Doesn't matter if you're standing or you're flat or you're upside down. And this is why one of the reasons in most of the brain hemorrhages, which comes through stress, we see bleeding, because the pressure valve of the blood field strength has to be released that the soul can be contained. This is the only reason why we see with brain hemorrhages bleeding all the time. Because the valve, which is the heart of the man in field strength, when it releases, is equal and is made of the blood, which controls and cages the soul. And this is the reason why, in so many ways, we see brain hemorrhage with what we call bleeding, with hemorrhage. There is, now we can explain it, now we can understand it, now we have the capability to link the processes together. It's like you open a valve on top of a pressure cooker. Everything comes out in one point, whatever matter is cooked in the pot. And if the material is of the same strength and comes to balance with its environment, that it can balance, bring the balance to the pressure, you get the steam and the water and everything else which is in the pot, and the rest of the residue. This is why some of the heart attack leads to death, because the field strength is so much that the pressure cannot be taken by the brain and it just goes through. Because the soul of the man, in the brain of the man, takes some of that pressure, because it's not time for me to go. I still need to gather more to become to the level I want to live. But if it's over, you're done. The process of creation is very simple. They don't work as a twin, but they work as a control valve in how to keep the soul encaged. In a way, is the prisoner making sure that the, what I call, cannot escape from the prison. And the heart is a watchman to make sure enough fields are delivered that the prison is kept, but it's always in touch. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I think that the hands up ability is open now. People would like to ask a question personally. We have a question in the Q&A from Antonio. It says, Dear Mr. Keshe, your call for doctors to be trained for the universal enhancement units, is this done online or do the doctors have to travel to Austria?
It'll be done online. We start this process in the next few weeks to start the training of the doctors before the systems come in. And as we explained, we have evolved the systems into a very advanced stage. And we start the training in the coming weeks as we see there are a number of doctors who applied. And we look into where the systems are being sold that we can train the doctors to be present in that location. Unless there are doctors who want to move to a new country or whatever. There is one thing which is raised in one of the private discussions. We don't see the employment of the specialty doctors for them to move from one nation to another, as doctors usually do. We're looking to train the doctors locally in the environment they are. Because some people in the third world nation, they think there's a availability in another nation, they can do so by moving. We try to avoid this, as it will raise a lot of problems in the future for the population and the operation of these centers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I have a couple more questions in the Q&A. One from Thomas. Is your physical death the choice of your soul, that it is the proper time to transition?
In a way, the level of your soul strength in respect to its cage is set at the point of the first interaction of the egg and the sperm. You can change it by environmental changes through the evolution of the environment slightly, but not that much. Unless you go into the level of the soul, which can transmute from one to another, which then will bring no time and no space when you can do that.
Okay, we have another question from Beatrice regarding the heart. When the heart, excuse me, when the heart hurts, is it the physical part or the soul?
Depends if you have a physical problem. Or is it the emotional in understanding the soul, interaction of the soul of physicality? What we feel in our heart as a pain is the interaction of the soul of physicality. Soul of the man does not feel pain as such. Understands wrong and right and where he has to be positioned. Understands pain not in the level of the physicality that we do in our heart through emotion.
Okay, we've got a, just get my list up here. We've got an attendee with their hand up. And it's one we're familiar with. Salamia has a hand up here, so allow her to talk. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I wanted just to clarify that in my mind was that soul and consciousness are the same, is logical, and I also feel it. But I asked on my team, Corona team from Romania, and some people said that it's not the same soul and consciousness. I also ask council universal.
Yes, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What do you call consciousness and what do you call a soul? Consciousness is emotion. Soul is totality of what contains everything. If you are conscious, you decide what is right, what is wrong. It's part of the structure of the operation of the soul of the man in terms of the physicality. Consciousness is an emotional feeling, is not the soul. An emotional feeling, right or wrong, comes from the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man.
There are two words, conscious and consciousness. You are aware of something, and consciousness for me is the same like soul. It's fundamental.
No, consciousness,
Yes.
no.
No?
Consciousness, the way we understand it, is the evaluation of the right or wrong, or what is correct and not. You are conscious of your conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it has an emotional relationship into understanding of it. And it's part of the interaction of the soul and the soul of physicality. Is not part of the soul. It's an interaction of, it's like mass. Is a byproduct of the interaction of two fields. You got to realize when we speak about the soul of physicality and the soul of the man is the interaction of four field forces, giving and taking, or gravitational and magnetical of the soul of the physicality, and gravitational magnetic field of the soul of the man, like the sun and the earth. And different fields interaction according to which strength creates different outcomes of what we call emotion. And consciousness is that we don't decide what our soul takes. We decide what is correct for our physicality. We are conscious of it.
So consciousness helps soul to be moral.
No,
Or
consciousness,
soul is
soul of physicality to be moral, not the soul. The soul of the man is moral because it's independent. It changes its position even within the structure of the brain of the man according to the other souls. The soul of the man is not constant in the strength and in more or less what I call revolution within the structure of the physicality of the man. It maneuvers, it changes position, it changes its angle, it changes its speed of rotation according to what other souls do. And in that process, this is what the judgment comes. Then the soul of physicality has to not only interact with the soul of man, but accommodates what other souls have agreed for the physicality to reach that point. It's two independent but interacting. If you kill the man in hiding and nobody knows, where your soul of physicality knows and your soul knows, then the souls decide how to move you, how to maneuver the soul, that the physicality follows that maneuver that it brings you for you to confess your crime. We've seen that in a very recent past. where the soul moves to open the misconduct of the physicality. We see it in the present situation in the American administration. The soul moves. The souls move into one thing or another to bring the physicality in a position through the operation of the soul. In a way, your soul walks your soul of physicality for you to be seen, to be known, to be shown. What you've done wrong? It's if you understand it, we use the operation of the nations, as we all understand that in the giving names and individuals. But if you look, the soul of the physicality of a government reflects the operation of the soul of the nation, and one responds into the other. And when one does wrong, they all go with it, and they all receive the same. If you work and understand the work of the creation the way we do and the way we see, it's a very, very strange that one of the administration who killed more than any other administration during its operation is coming back to work. This time to correct what they've done wrong to many things during what they had to do. And why do we look at the leading nations on this planet? Because they set the scene for the rest. You will see the situations where world leaders will become answerable personally to their conduct, as we've seen in many other nations, where leading nations, leaders always have escaped with it. What we see in the past weeks, what's happening in the United States, is bringing the balance, as we've seen in other nations. People go through revolution and they go through bringing the leaders who've been unjust and not correct. Self-centered administrations always have brought disaster to their nations. And we've seen it with this and the present situation. If it was a small country in Africa, we had what we've seen in the United States in the past few weeks, it was something Africans do. Now one of the leading nations in the world has set the scene for literally abolishing leadership. And the men on the streets are changing the position, not in administration. Every leader gradually becomes accountable on a daily basis to the people who they lead. As is in some writings, the time will come that no one will take what we call the crown of kingship, because it has such a heavy responsibility to be correct in every conduct.
Yes, it is written that no one would like to be a leader in a crisis situation. Yeah.
Not the crisis situation, even in the best situation. In crisis situations, somebody always take the lead to pass the crisis, as we do. Mankind is in a turmoil, and it needs to be led out of this position in a very fast way, but through intellect and science, to bring in science and technology to be the same. And at the same time, science, technology, and religion to be the same, all working on the same path. It's no use having a science and the religious leaders which use that science to develop weapon technology to be rulers, where science and technology which develop has to be The same for the purpose of peace. We've seen this in the past half decade, where religious leaders openly have entered into developing weapons for destruction of nations, as they were not of the same path. We've seen Vatican extensively involved in the evolution and development of new weapons. No single religion finances more in developing new weapon technology than Vatican, to make sure other nations are in war, that they can lead their way by use of the soul of the man. Why does Christian administration runs and controls and places biggest order ever for production of arms and weapons in Italy? Why does the Pope buys 9 million landmines to give as a gift to another nation to kill another? This is where the end of Christianity has come, where the religion is used to kill others.
Because the Vatican is a state. It's not.
The Vatican,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, it's in the name of the religion.
Yeah.
It's a business. And there's no business better pays than killing, because then people will pay to mourn for years. It's an investment, drip, drip, for a long time repayment. But this is where the religions will have no place, because now religion and science meet, and more understands the other, and there is no need for it, and there is no place for it. One of the biggest problems coming out of Corona is where mankind will lead itself to, as many, many weapon technology industries are not used. In a very short time, new technologies or overcoming Corona, not by vaccination, will be introduced by nations. As we read recently, the lockdowns have brought more damage than actually if there was no lockdown. We see it. Economies are becoming to a halt. Who's going to pay for it? And then they bring, who do we need to cut costs? What are the major costs? We all have injected, so major costs are the old pensioners. If they go, major expense of a nation will be cut. Then what is the next step? Those who are efficient and then contribute to evolution of a nation will be kept. To what extent do we go? And we allow leadership to extend to our extent of our lives.
But you know,
this is,
we Baha'is never
can
sell,
you please, can I ask you one thing? If you mention about the Baha'is once more on these teachings, I have to ask you to be withdrawn. We do not go on every path of whatever. The principle of the knowledge counts, not where it comes from. We are not a platform for the Baha'is, Christians, or Muslims, or the rest. In so many ways, the understanding of the knowledge has to be that leads to evolution of technology, of the human race, evolution of the soul. In understanding the process of a technology, nations and religious leaders have to strive to create a condition of betterment for their citizens and for their followers. The way we do in the Keshe Foundation. Knowledge has to be free to allow the evolution of the soul to a higher order, not to be destroyed. A few years ago, around this time, when we were negotiating with Vatican for different ways and different structures, this was made very clear that the path of the Vatican, with the way it operates and the way we teach knowledge, cannot be on the same path. the foundation has had deep discussions with Vatican and people who work within the structure who are the decision makers. It was the same with other religions. Religions have to be a path for elevation of the soul of the man through understanding of new cycles, not for destruction of the others. The time of crusaders is over. The time of wars between religions is over, as they're all one. Now we understand we all have the intellect and the right to reach our Creator through understanding and the strength of our soul. There is no need for religions. It's the responsibility of religious leaders now, in any shape or form, to enlighten their followers that the new path has started. They can follow the path. If they are true men of religion, if they are true men of faith, we elevate their souls to reach that point. Be it the Pope, be it the religious leaders in the Islamic world, be it the ones, the rabbis and the Buddhists and the rest. It's them who have to bring their followers to understand a new cycle has started, where every man is equal in understanding the soul of the creation and nearness to him, not through their word and their say, just because they have a luxurious life to live because of the what we provide as donations and whatever else. It's the same with those who call themselves Illuminatis. If you have such a position of strength, it has to be used for betterment of the peace, not the tools of war to be able to control. The peace comes through elevation of soul of individuals, not control of the collective. We see a lot of movement in the past few weeks by Illuminatis trying to recruit Keshe Foundation leading people across the planet. And in so many ways, we see this as an infringement into a structure of the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, where we do not allow these things to take place. As we know, the leaders of the Illuminatis are sitting amongst you, and they consider every teaching we do, and they see our work as part of the way which they don't like to see. But if they are, and what they believe in is to bring equality and betterment of the life of the man, they have to strive to work the way we do. There is no choice. In fact, what it is if you are in that process, if you are part of what I call the Illuminatis structure, you should strive to enlighten the people who you're trying to serve to understand the process of their own life. Not by you trying to create the masters and the rest of it that you can control further. And it's the same with the religious leaders. We have received a number of approaches by the Illuminatis, where they want Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers who are in a position of leading to get in touch with the Grand Master with WhatsApp, because they see the foundation as growing in a way to enlightening knowledgeable people that then they can control. As I said, the soul of the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers is not for sale. The same goes with Scientologists. They fail to overtake and take control of the Keshe Foundation because they see the Keshe Foundation as a structure to fulfill the promise of the leader in a physical way and scientific way. Scientologists have no science, and they looked for the Keshe Foundation. And that's why we've seen so much trouble in recent past within the foundation, trying to resurrect people inside the foundation to take lead, to take position, to take the Keshe Foundation to Scientologists, and then destroy the foundation from inside. If you are a Scientologist, you have to accept the knowledge is there. There is no room for Scientologists because the science of it is shared by the Keshe Foundation. It's the same with the world leaders, and the same with the religious leaders.
But we
If
have
you-
to find common denominator, no, with all, and to work with all. That
the common denominator, as I taught today, has been established. And it comes by enlightenment.
Yeah.
And it comes by enlightenment. You can now elevate the soul of a stone to understand, to teach, and elevate itself to anything it wants to, if the man desires so. Every pebble has a soul, and that soul has the capability to elevate. Not only the man. If a soul has created, that brings collection of fields of structures, or we call atoms, that soul has the capability to be elevated, be it the beast, be it the man, be it the stone. It's the soul which has to decide its position and elevation.
I understand your position because
We have no
totality is
position.
linked.
We have no
Everything is
position.
linked. And not position, I mean what you say. I understand very well because totality is totality. Everything is linked. If something is elevated, one
You
soul
see,
is elevated, everything will be elevated. No?
in a way, some people look at it that way. If you look in the past 12 months, in past 5 years, Keshe Foundation has been on the line for many organizations as they see us endangering their position, or as they see us, they want to use the Keshe Foundation for them to find new position and new structure. We explained about the Rothschilds, Illuminatis, Scientologists, and all the religious groups and political groups are within the structure of the Keshe Foundation. They've been brought in, and we accepted them with the open arm, but we keep an eye on all lots what they're up to. We have KGB officers as much as CIA officers in one of the highest positions in Keshe Foundation. We accepted them knowingly, and we nourish them knowingly. We don't say because you are there or that's the other one. We have people from Iran Central Intelligence to SEPA to CIA to people from Vatican and Saudi, what we call religious groups, all within the structure of the Keshe Foundation. We become an inclusive, and we all understand that there is one purpose: to unify the soul of the creation.
Of course.
And that's all the purpose we have. And what we don't talk, we teach technologies that all can reach that point. And this is where we differ. We allow people to elevate their own souls. We allow people to understand the position and the time and the place. At the moment, there's a huge struggle how Scientologists are fighting to take over the Keshe Foundation. And you can read it on the internet, how openly they're discussing it. Keshe Foundation is not for sale. It's a scientific organization. And nobody can take over it. The same with the Illuminatis. We've seen openly sending messages to a number of leading Keshe Foundations around the world, like they come in operation, they're watching them and they approach them. Even governments have gone into that business. We become a very, what I call tasty fish that everyone wants to swallow and become part of. And this is what I said to them. Open the door. We talk everything openly as we send a message to Rothschild. And they immediately backed off because they thought we do deals behind back doors. Keshe Foundation is an open structure for elevation of the soul of man through science and technology and the extension to life. We are not here to deliver a Maghreb unit. We are not here to deliver a power generator. These are the things we do that it brings comfort to the man in the physical dimension that he allows his soul to elevate. Even if you look at the Maghreb system, it's an energy for elevation of the soul if you know how to use it.
Yeah, I have to apologize because I make some remarks about my background. Spiritual.
No,
I didn't know.
there is no.
I apologize, but
no, there is no problem. We deal with it with every path of belief, but it has to be respected that we are all here. We might see some intrusion with others. We have a huge Iranian community and Islamic community within Keshe Foundation, which see the Baha'is as an opposite pole.
I know.
We are not here to irritate. The same we see with the Jews and the Muslims. We are an all-inclusive scientific organization. And with it, through science, we have found the path to the soul, or what they like to call religion, the spirituality, as is the same. And this has to be kept and respected. We respect the office of all the religious leaders, being His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, to His Eminence Pope, and the others. But we are not there to create conflict, but we are there to even enlighten the priests and Ayatollahs and the Pope, that their soul find peace, and through that peace, they find peace for humanity. One of our purposes is to touch the soul of the leaders, as many of you have taken position to do. That through their understanding, through the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, understanding of the new science and technology, they lead their flocks to the path of the correct conduct of the soul.
It's a wise, very wise and genial way to make unity between all the people.
We carry the wisdom of the universe. We know how to handle.
Yes, it's a universal intelligence, which is consciousness, and it's, for me, it's intelligence. No. Also, intelligence has a soul inside. I don't know how we call, because we speak in words and reality doesn't have words. We don't have words for the reality outside of space and time, and not beyond space and time.
As we say, it all depends on our, what I call comprehension and level of understanding of totality. Excuse me, Rick, would you like to go or stand into a break and come back?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much. Before we go into break, which is usually promoting the product of the Keshe Foundation, I think Rick has some things to tell after the, what do you call, the this session, before we start the next regarding some new things. Thank you very much.
I thought we were going to do that at the end of the session, but
we can do it after the same thing after we come back.
Okay, no, that sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everyone. We'll have a short break here during the 363rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back to the 363rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 14th, 2021. Now, I understand that we have some new products that will be showing in the Keshe Foundation store, and we're having a look at that now. And there is 3 new products. One of them is the Cycle of Life cups. This is what we see now. It's called the Cycle of Life cups. And we can see it says the Keshe GANs Cycle of Life cups create the GANs plasma of life cycle for the vertical life, horizontal life, and matter state. For the utilization of the Cycle of Life cups, please follow the Knowledge Seekers workshops at, and it gives the link for the Knowledge Seekers workshops. And you get a frame with the Cycle of Life cups setup. That's for €199.99. Okay, next product we have, new product in the Keshe Foundation store, is the Keshe GANs 1 Cup 1 Life home system. And it says, okay, we have a nice blow up picture there. Maybe we can see that better in this, when I read the text here first. After years of research and months of perfecting the innovation in the Keshe GANs development, we are introducing to you now the latest Keshe GANs products. Easy to use and highly effective, our new Keshe GANs 1 Cup 1 Life home system helps to create the Cup of Life 1 and the Cup of Life 2 GANs with the intention to be used in your projects. It uses a power systems and a specifically designed inflow-outflow process. Okay, so it's €14.99. That's 1,499. Here's the picture of the unit. Okay, one other new product, the Natural GANs drying system and plasma water extractor. Gentle GANs drying through water steam extraction at low temperature with no release of moisture into the room. Closed drying circuit, therefore no influence through the area around. Everything is preserved, not only the GANs in dry form, but also the GANs plasma water can be collected and used for future projects. With drying times between 6 and 48 hours and a power consumption of 400 watts per hour of only approximately €2 per day. It is one of the most economical systems on the market. It is equipped with air particle filtration and a 10-liter water collecting tank. The viewing window allows you to check the status of the drying process. This is for €4,499. Here's a view of it and a couple of other pictures. There's some dried GANs. So the unit's able to dry the GANs and also separate the plasma water, which you can use. Okay, very nice. And I
Thank you very
understand,
much. Sorry.
there'll be more information on this in the next week or so, and some just better descriptions and some picture, or perhaps a video, I think, is in the works as well.
Yes, there'll be a new setup with it. In the next week or two, we'll introduce what we call environmental airflow system for more or less what we call environmental fields for overcoming what we call disturbances in the plasma fields, like with what we call the viruses and the thing that you can use as like a air condition to change the atmosphere in the rooms. This is developed and will be marketed on the back of the scientific paper, which was released as part of the Corona project with Iran, and following the publication of the what we call the Iran Corona report, as has received official scientific publication by the what we call the Iranian officials, and now is officially scientific paper allowed to be published, is in a full capacity by the Iranian officials and authorized in Iran. This is the book, as you have seen the report, the Corona report in Iran, now has received the official certification by the Iranian government and published this week as the official report on Corona and the Keshe Foundation research in Iran. And we use this publication as a scientific publication, and what we publish in the Keshe Foundation journal on the back of to release new system and technologies to support the finding of this paper. You got to understand, in Iran, to publish such a document needs the authorization of the ministries and the health ministry and government, that the paper is scientifically sound and proven to be correct. And it has received the certification from Iranian officials and has been printed, 1,000 copies of it in Iran, to be bought by the knowledge seekers. The English version of this is available in the Keshe Foundation and will be followed the same. This is the first time that one of the Keshe Foundation scientific papers officially accepted by a nation and allowed to be published. It's not like in Europe that you can publish anything. Like any publication like this has to receive the approval of the ministries and the government to be certified to be correct research and a valid scientific paper. And we have received this and has been published in Iran. And on the back of this scientific paper, Keshe Foundation will release new technologies to use the findings in this paper for interaction of the viruses in the space, developing new technologies and systems that in our work with the space technology, we can overcome viruses in the space without need to return back to Earth. In that way, I'd like to thank the Iranian Keshe Foundation, Yusuf and Ali in Tehran office, in taking this through and seeing it to be approved as a fundamental scientific paper by Iranian research team, which is the totality of the Iranian knowledge seekers. Is a collective paper, scientific paper, and is more or less done by the backing and the collection of the knowledge by some more than a couple of dozen scientists and volunteers and universities and different research institutes in Iran and outside. The approval of this paper to be published as a book, as a scientific document, allows the Keshe Foundation for the first time to release technologies on the basis of sound reports and research, which now the data has been approved by the government scientists and officials. Any other question?
Yes, we have a number of questions in the Q&A now. Perhaps we can address them. From Antonio, first question. Mr. Keshe, if the human beings, he says, are sons of mind, and I think that translation might be a little rough, but we'll continue, then we cannot truly demonstrate the soul until the mental body is controlled. Is there evolution of consciousness as well?
I don't understand what it means.
I think he's saying we can't fully manifest the soul or demonstrate the soul until we control our thoughts, our mental body. We need an evolution of our mind in order to manifest fully the soul. I think that's what he's saying. That's my interpretation, so I'm not clear on that.
I don't know how to interpret it to answer it.
Yeah, and I'm getting myself in more trouble by trying to interpret it. Perhaps we could, what about the idea, is there an evolution of consciousness? Does consciousness evolve?
You see, it depends, as we just were discussing before, what we call consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how consciousness can change and it warps and twists according to the others around it and so on.
Yeah, we become conscious of things according to how we see the work of the universe, and how we would like to judge it to be to our benefit. Consciousness is what we would like and how we've been brought up to understand values of life. A thief has a consciousness that is mine, I can take what I like. And another man thinks stealing is not correct. Consciousness is very much environmental dependent.
Okay, thank you. There's a question from Manez in the next question here in the Q&A. Hello, Mr. Keshe. In September of 1976, I and many others saw a UFO in the skies of Tehran, very visible. A smaller craft came out of the main craft, then they both disappeared. Question is, do they visit to help humanity?
When you go to a tourist site, do you go there to help the people, or are you going there for your own interest to see what is the beauty of the place? And Earth is another tourist location and destination.
I'm reminded that when humans were out discovering the planet in their ships and so on, they would find tribes and then try to help them in their own way, but sometimes their help was not didn't work the way they thought it would, or perhaps they deliberately infected other, native peoples and that kind of thing. But I think that,
but look at it. But let me come into you as you're speaking, Rick. Now we go to the moon, and moon has citizens. Let's say, do we intrude in their lives and teach them what we know on Earth, or we become observer as we don't understand the language and we see them as maybe inferior or maybe superior to our knowledge? We are not in that one day we go to space. Now we are in the space. We can go to moon, we are going to Mars, and with the new technology go to other planets. What is the decision of mankind? Decision made by those who lead these kind of excursions with the backing of the human race. What is our policy? Are we going to intrude, or are we going to be observers, as it's not our job to intrude? We are in that position now. As a race, we have evolved, we have managed to leave home, we have traveled a number of times to the moon, we have vehicles on the surface of the Mars. Hopefully by the wish of the American administration, 2030, they're working on the landing in next 10 years of first live man on the surface of Mars. The propulsion lab in NASA is very busy with it, using propulsion plasma, trying to cut the 7-month trip to shorter time. What do? Now we become in the first toddling steps. What is the decision of the Universal Council? As they're the ones who we follow and we obey. Are we allowed to intrude, or do we become tourists? We observe, we don't interfere, and we go. And maybe one of us decides to be kind or fall in love with somebody, with the one creature in that planet, and decides to take residence. It's not a fairy tale. We are in that position. No nation has made, no government has made, no United Nations has made the decision on this basis. Where the universal community has made the decision a long time ago. We stay observers. We do not intrude. These are the responsibilities which fall on the shoulder of the Universal Council. What is the decision for human race? How do we take it? And now with the new knowledge that we all know the same, in essence, what is our position? Cannot come by United Nations, because there is no nation to be united. They have divided and they've done more than before. But as a Universal Council, what is the decision? These are the things which will come forth very rapidly for all of us. And it's a decision of the Universal Council, how humanity will interact in these things. We heard a lot about Americans doing this and what's going to happen, but it's all hullabaloo. Because universal community will not deal with one nation. They interacted with one line, and it has brought the biggest misery to human race. And do you expect if you see a UFO, they come and say hello, whatever? No, we are just a tourist destination on the map of the universe. And we have seen reduction in the time of war than in time of peace, because they don't want their citizens to see such atrocities. We know when you have a war in the country, the government issues a red light, no tourists to go into this area. It's done the same with the passengers of the universe. Earth is a red big circle around it because they kill each other. And we don't want to bring that into the universal community for people to see. They say, create peace in your nation, then we open the tourist information. It's like now, you say your country is clean, you can have tourists coming in. You clean the humanity from atrocities, killing and all the unjust things. Then we open openly Earth as a tourist area. We will see all sorts of creatures, not coming and going. Some reside among us because Earth is a beautiful place to be. We are citizens of one unicos, not anymore citizens of one nation or one planet. And we have to get used to this. We see tourists as they come, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Arabs, and the rest we've seen since 1970s and 80s when tourism becomes so popular. And now once we open up the door of the tourism, we become peaceful nation. As one nation, we'll see tourists from all over the universe coming to see this beautiful planet. When you go and see the beauty of Avatar in China, when you see the mountains and the waterfalls in Canadian border, and you see the beautiful jungles of Africa, this is not the exclusivity of the man. It's the beauty of the Creator and open to all his citizens. One day, in a very near future, I will explain the reason why Earth has been chosen in this way for many things. It's because of its beauty and why human race is used for setting the presence for the physicality and soul elevation in the universe. This all will be made clear very, very soon.
Mr. Keshe, there's a man on Earth called Elon Musk, who happens to be now the richest man on the planet. And he's currently giving away some of his riches. And he wants to split it into two different streams. One is projects to help humanity, and the other is for going to Mars, because that's always been his dream, is to retire on Mars. I'm wondering what advice you might give him, or what you could offer as some connection with the Keshe Foundation that he might take to heart.
He almost already knows about the Keshe Foundation. And if there wasn't the pressure from Illuminatis and scientific organizations who want to keep the status quo, situation will be different. In a very recent conversation in the past few days, I've been enlightened how European Community Scientific Group has blocked the Keshe Foundation since 2009. And even legal steps have been taken to stop the growth of the technology, and there are documents for it. I was not surprised or shocked, but it was a confirmation, and the documents for it are promised to be made available to us. That the technology is so revolutionary that the man cannot understand, and the European scientific groups who are responsible for introduction of new technologies even start taking legal actions to stop the development of the Keshe technology in Europe. And what we saw in what we had is part of that process. Now we understand why that process was taken that way. The people who are member of this board have broken rank and start getting in touch with the Keshe Foundation to show now that they're amongst listeners in different channels. That now that they have seen how technology is being taught, they made a decision 2021 to open the books of how we've been blocked by scientific organizations as they see what they call the scientific knowledge challenge. And in so many ways, this will stop a lot of things which groups or influential groups that they were planning to do things has blocked their way. So people like you must use your money to support whatever you like, but at the end of it, they know this technology or technology which uses the process of usage of the fields of the universe is the ultimate goal of any science. We have shown a way to it, and they can do whatever they like. It's not philanthropists through becoming rich. Keshe Foundation and the knowledge seekers have been philanthropists by sharing knowledge freely from the beginning of the establishment of the Keshe Foundation. Usually people become philanthropists when they become rich, and then they try to give. We went the wrong way or the right way in a way to them. That we shared, we were philanthropists from the beginning, we shared that everybody gets the riches and the benefit from the day one of the establishment of the Keshe Foundation. If you look at it the way you teach, you are one of the biggest humanitarian philanthropists in the world, the way you're helping with Corona and the rest of it. Which organization does this? Which knowledge seekers or any followers of any company or whatever does? We have to find finances for you to help someone with the Corona, or you're teaching it freely, you're delivering your ganses freely. You're already knowledge philanthropists. What these people try to get with publicity. And the same way you teach the knowledge and share the wealth. The true wealth is with the knowledge seekers who share the knowledge. The true wealth doesn't come from philanthropists, from millions from the bank. Any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Good answer. Let me see if we have any hands up right now. Any hands up? We do have a number of questions in the Q&A. Let's have a look at those. Beatrice again asking what's the difference between the soul of physicality and that of the soul of man? What makes them different?
Well, it's in all the teachings. Go back to all the teachings. It's in there somewhere. Big difference.
Yeah, I've explained that a few times, I think, for maybe just for people that aren't used to those teachings, I suppose, would need an explanation. And that could take some time.
Quite a long time.
Let's go on to Manes, who says, when the body dies of illness, what happens to the soul that has not come to the end of its duration of maturity?
The body comes to the duration of maturity when the illness set in. It's like an emergency path opens up. It's very simple. You'll see it. People become wise. People who are said they've got a month or years to live. They change their behavior. They change their lifestyle. They change a lot of things, or they become aggressive, whatever. That process, when it's given, the life cycle starts. processing itself to be ready for that departure. It's not that it's going to be like a suicide, this is it, then it's going to kill. Even in the time of accident, when somebody dies, the process speeds up. In that process, that everything to be delivered to elevate the soul where it was supposed to be planned to be at a given position, even it could be by the plan of the souls, will gather together to be delivered to the soul to be, it's like, emergency pack. The soul takes what is embedded within the soul of every cell, for its final destination elevation has been already predetermined. It's like, I have to go, whatever is there, I have to pack. This is well understood in the work and the structure of the, what we call, universal work of the souls and energies.
Okay, we've got a question from Akbar. It says, hello from Iran. How can we understand the strength of the different metals for creating new ganses and using them in the 5 cups?
It's very easy. Understand how you made the gases. Then you understand the strength of them and how to utilize them. It can't be as easy. It's one of the easiest things to do. Because, for example, if you make the gases and you have the gas of the element, and you can create the matter from it, then you have understood the strength of the soul and the plasma of that matter, or the material. This is how we run the enhancement units for creation of matter. We create the soul of the element. And that soul has certain field strength. And as one is created, it completes, it becomes, if it needs to move the presence of the inertia fields into the matter state of that field. We don't need to keep on changing things. You've seen this in your gas production unit. You create once the field strength of the carbon between the plates of the zinc and copper, and that field created once, it pulls in all the amino acids from the environment, which is at that strength. You don't need to keep on producing it. You create the field of it. So any amino acid combination which is at that strength will be absorbed to that position, will be created, manifested at that position on the surface of the water. We do the same thing with creation of matters. We create the soul, the field energy of strength, and then in interaction with the gravitational magnetic field of the earth, it manifests itself as an amino acid. Very, very simple. Any other question? Hello, Rick. Are we there?
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Sorry, I got my mic. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Magdalene.
Can I ask some questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this from the Chinese community?
Actually, we had a discussion for the 5 cups and the soul cups for last week, and we have a lot of question or discussion. So about what you mentioned, your soul must be modest, must be very low, so that you can receive the receive energy from your soul cup. And here we are a little bit confusing. We think our
It's very easy to confuse Chinese, isn't it?
yes, yes.
When it comes to these matters, because you believe in yin and yang, it's got to be in one or the other.
Yeah, but modest is an emotion or is a strength of the soul or a physical soul?
It's a combination of the both.
Both.
Yeah, it's very simple. You have and you give and you take what you need. This was originally discussed centuries ago in a different way by earth scientists, what we call where does the magnetic and gravitational field of the earth changes in the center of the earth. And till now that we explain it's the same field as it goes through. There is no change of south pole to north pole, gravity to magnetical. And the rate of the repulsion, or what we call magnetical, comes from what gravitational brings and collective fields within the structure of the earth can give to maintain its stability of all its souls of every cell on it. When we get the magnetic field from the North Pole at every second, every time released from more coming out of the North Pole, is collective fields of what is being received, what is needed by Earth, and what the rest have to give that it can confirm its existence. In a way, if you look at it, in a human body, in a certain strength, we eat from the bath. In the planetary system, we eat from both ends. And depending on the strength of which way the repulsion or attraction is stronger, it takes prominence in showing itself. And we eat from the South Pole of the higher, lower order strength. And by what is inside, it goes through our digestion system in the human body. And what fields we do not need, we release into the environment, be it as an aura, be it as an excrement, be it as whatever. The solar, a planet uses the poles to reject what it doesn't need from what is digested, from the interaction of the fields which has arrived from the south, plus what is arrived from the north of the higher order gravitational fields, or lower order from the north's magnetical fields repulsion. It's a living process. And where does the consciousness or decision come into it? Is collectively what we do not need, we repel. In a way, if mankind looks at the structure of the South and North Pole in the higher strength order repulsion from the north, we understand the body of the man absorbs more from his environment that can continuously feed more out in the North Pole on the strongest strength. It's not just a simple process. In so many ways, when we look at the structure, and then would it be evolution or would it be understanding, is that with the North Pole, we always say we receive. And we could never understand that the North Pole is X plus an extra strength. We know this from the interaction of the temperature with the field interaction of the North Pole with its environment, which is slightly higher in temperature than the South. But where does this extra continuously come? We continuously absorb fields from our environment in different shape and form. And what is needed to maintain the integrity of the planet is held, and the rest through the even recycling and residual fields added to be taken out. Our North Pole is the human body in reverse upside down, if you look at it that way. But as body of the man absorbs 80% of his energy from his environment, the Earth is the same. He absorbs huge amount of energy from his environment in every direction, as much as it gives out. And how it gives out. The inclination on the angle of the Earth creates we see the line of the deserts. If we didn't have this inclination, the line of desert should have been the totality of the planet in so many ways. Balanced fields. But now if you look and follow the line of the deserts, you see it has a very close alignment with the inclination of the poles. Because it's where the fields come in and they accumulate. We find a balanced conditions of fields which does not allow so much creation of vegetation. It's balanced in the vertical people. This is understanding of what we bring the science in line to understanding what we call theology and understanding of the creation. It's the same with our soul. It's the same with the soul of the Creator. We absorb much more, and what we absorb more, we release. It's like when you eat too much. Planets cannot get fat. They get fat because they're absorbing more and more to increase the layers on the surface. But on the other hand, the field energies has to be released for what is not converted from fields into matter on the surface of the planet. As the fields arrive, going through, if they are converted, they become different matters. And what is not converted, after change, will go through, added to what is coming from the south. And that's why what we call the North Pole or the rejection is more than what we take in. But that's in field strengths. It's what we call mutation of elements, mutation of energy fields. What mutation is in fields will happen into elements up to the surface and maybe within the layers of the earth layers, even within the magma, even within the central core. And what energies which does not fit the position and the strength of the field of the earth will move out through the flow fields of the magnetic field of the planet itself. As was discussed, I think even yesterday in the Farsi teaching, if some of you have really observed and you made the right cancers in a very right order and you close the cup and you marked your water level, you'll find out after a few weeks or months, your mind level increases and say, how come? Because the cup has created a field inside because of the magnetic field of the container, which is now inside the container, not the same as the earth. It's got gases in it. It pulls in, and because of the presence of water, it creates molecules of water, converts within it, and you see the rise in your level. Because now your cup has become a converter of energy to matter state in the liquid state. Many of you must have observed this. Especially, we see this a lot with the people who do the CO2. If you put your jars and mark it and leave it, you'll see a rise in the level of the water. Because now your system has become exactly your what I call the gas production unit. You create a field, which here is the created field of H2O. So any fields around there which might match as it's crossing the glass and everything else will add to your water level, because now you're converting. Yes, what's the other question?
Let's see. From Alfred, he had mentioned, have you heard about inrupt.com, INRUPT,
No.
which may become the new internet? Says Tim Berners-Lee is involved in this, as many other leading independent techs. I do note that there's rumors that the internet could get shaky or have a reset of some sort. And there seems to be a lot going on with that in the next week or so. I don't know about this.
We have no knowledge. This you have to ask the IT people.
Okay. Randy asks, we saw some pictures earlier with the dried GANs, with the new GANs plasma water, GANs drying and plasma water extractor. So he says, what is the dried GANs used for?
For a lot of applications. One of the reasons we dry the gases is because liquid GANs is hard to transport across borders. So when we use in the dry form, it's the same more or less. You can always back add it to the water, stays in its own structure. It won't become like a GANs as you see it, but it still releases the same energy. It's used in many different ways. We deliberately use it for different applications. And is one of the best ways to store gases without more or less converting into different energy and colors. It'll happen very little of it, but if you notice when you have a liquid gas, you have it green today, maybe in a few weeks time it'll go red or whatever. In the process of drying, we try to solid state it in that form. And it has huge applications. And gas water you extract with this method is not by boiling, it's by dehumidifying, which means the gas water you can use is pure. Because in most of your gas waters you drink, you still have particles of gas floating in it. And this is a very effective way to do it, and it allows us, this is very effective for production of the gases of what they call vegetables and herbs. Because if we create gases of it and then we take it up, it's one of the most effective ways to do it. It has a lot of application in the Keshe Foundation work. In the system which we'll introduce in the next couple of weeks, we will introduce an environmental system where, for example, you can put the system in a greenhouse and increase the growth of, let's say, tomatoes. Specifically designed systems will insert and increase vegetation growth and the rest of it. This unit will be announced and be shown most likely by next week. And at the same time, you can use it like a humidifier. But changing very much has been done in research in Iran, in offices and in hospitals and the rest.
Okay, we have a question from Raphael regarding some of your earlier work with reactors. He says, who do you think are these beings, souls, that were interacting with the work of your reactors while testing that you could observe through the small window in the reactors?
We create most of them. If you look into the window and you see the operation of the reactors, we create continuous homogeneous turbulences, which brings given field strength together, which in the interaction, they colonize a certain point or certain area within the reactor. And then we'll see their effect on operation. We are the creator of it. This is what I say all the time, even in the lab. Every time you set a system, pray for it, because you create a line of connection. You are the creator of it. And it's important to understand this. Turbulences
was sort of a key word in there that was interesting.
Yeah, because we create many macro turbulences in respect to the dimension of the reactor. The uranium reactor has one of the best windows because I've seen a lot of things in it. And one of the first reactors we produced is like a blue dome, has a specific window, and it creates it's a nuclear-based reactor, and it's a space development. And with it, because of the rapid field delivery of the radioactive material, we see huge mutation in elements in energies. And we see existence, we see field balances. Any other question?
From Thomas, who says, if the UFO in Tehran was seen by the inhabitants of Earth, is that not in itself an intrusion into the humanity?
Not really. Travelers do not intrude. They are passerbys. But don't forget, Earth is a position of transit. But sometimes these transit positions might be a stay for centuries. As centuries to the man of universe is nothing. If your 1 year on your planet is 1 million years of earthly years, so if you're here for 100 years, for 1,000 years is nothing. It's a fraction of your lifetime in your place, and if in your place you live 100 years or 200 years, it's like 100 million years. And so it's a short-term visit or a stay. Mankind will come to understand this very, very quickly, very soon, now that we have opened this door and this window of knowledge.
Yeah, question from Antonio. Mr. Keshe, is the nervous system the connecting link between the soul and our physicality?
A physical connection, yes. But soul has a field dimension too. The nerve system is for a physical soul of a cell or environment of cells, where the soul has its own direct contact or due to interaction of the fields with every cell in the body of the man. Neurosystem and the blood circulation are the two fields that the interaction between them, the field interaction between them, leads to creation of the cell due to the field inertia of the environment they create. The way the fields of the sun interaction with the magnetic field of the earth create the matters around the earth. You need the earth and the sun fields to create it. So does the nerve and the blood system. And this is the most fundamental knowledge which the most of medicine have not understood, have failed to understand this, and this is the cornerstone of most of the problems in the science of medicine on this planet. Nerve system carries a certain strength field, and so does the blood. And the interaction of these two, if you look at the structure of the nerve system and blood circulation, you see a lot of similarities, where one comes from the brain and the other one comes from the heart, pumping area, the headquarters. And as we said in earlier teaching today, the heart and the soul interact. And this is why we have emotional illnesses so prevalent in the life of the man, because the emotional fields which come from the brain will interact with what comes from the physical, which is the blood, and they produce the cell within the body of the man. It's not just that you have a nerve system and blood system. If you can show the parallel system together, you understand how your bodies are created, how the cells in your body is created. The two run parallel with each other because their distance, their position, their interaction, and the field they carry within them, it dictates the cell which is created in that position and the cell. This is why if you go back to the original teaching, we said the body of the man, the blood of the body of the man is taxi-designated cell system, which means a cell in the blood is responsible for a cell in the body of the man, or combination of the cells which carry the same strength for a given position and place. And the neurosystem just bring the fields which converts it from the fields through the lymph into the matter state. You need the two blood and the what we call neural system fields that in the interaction with the lymph converts into energy needed or the matter state which is needed in a given position. Lymph is the inertia field forces which carries the material for construction. And the field interaction between the blood and the nerve decides what is going to be constructed, because the shape of the nerve as a given position and the blood circulation dictates the fields needed to be created. This is one of the reasons you have the phantom pain when you lose your arm or leg or get amputation. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Beatrice has another question. Why is hydrogen important to be more alkaline?
Hydrogen is more acidic. It gives more energy. In a way, by being so acidic, it becomes alkaline. Hydrogen is a source of energy in so many ways as is trying to absorb more fields to itself to become deuterium. It brings fields and energies to its area, which are not needed by it, but are essential to the other cycle of life in their environment.
Perhaps an example of that would be when we eat or drink lemon, then even though it's an acid, citric acid, it tends to turn alkaline in the body, or it creates an alkaline reaction to the body.
Depends how you want to describe it.
Well, you were mentioning that the hydrogens sometimes turn from the acidic to alkaline, becomes so acidic that it comes around to alkaline.
It is the increase in alkalineness. It brings the wedge to acidic, and extreme from acidic brings to alkaline. It's just change of the field. Suddenly, instead of giving, it becomes absorber.
So can that happen with souls? That in particular, I'm thinking of, say, world leaders. Can they turn from maybe a lifetime of being acidic to suddenly turning alkaline, or even vice versa?
Yes, has happened many times. It's change of emotion.
And that would be part of the elevation, or is that a different?
What do you mean?
Part of elevation of the soul.
It could be elevation and elevation, depends which way you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
What is to get and what is being attained.
We have a comment from Shin that I probably should read here in the Q&A. It was regarding the word consciousness that came up before. He says, consciousness of the living man is the combination of emotion, intellect, and will. It is inspired by the fifth, the intuition. In the living man, it is created by interaction of the soul of man and the soul of physicality. So Mr. Keshe calls the seat of the consciousness the soul of totality. I'm not sure if you agree with all that, but that's...
Not really, but that's his interpretation.
John in the Q&A is asking, is the version of the 358th workshop 4 cups good for healing and feeding?
For what purpose?
So healing and feeding is not a purpose in itself. You mean it's what's the intention behind that healing, or?
Yeah, but depends what you want to use and what fields you create.
Well, I think you've actually completed the list amazingly, Mr. Keshe, on the Q&A here. And
Thanks very much.
we actually don't have any hands up as well, which is
Unusual.
Unusual and amazing.
I think
There's a
we are
couple of
reaching a point. Pardon?
Sorry, a couple of thank yous in the Q&A from Randy and Beatrice, so, and also Jefferson.
We are reaching a point that a lot of knowledge seekers have stuck between the two, world of physicality and the soul and the operation of it, and how they can see or confirm what they do. And this is where what I call thinking brings maturity. And sooner or later, knowledge seekers will start developing technologies which fits the teaching and start seeing it. As I said, many knowledge seekers are afraid of testing new environment, testing new things, that it might be different or might be wrong. Till you don't make these tests, you don't know, and you don't know what you're going to get. And this is where we see a big difference in the work of certain knowledge seekers. Anyway, we have to understand the teaching of today in a very deep way and gradually open up ourselves to be able to receive and elevate ourselves to the what I call ultimate goal of our soul. Thank you very much for today, and we'll see you next week, where is the last session of the 7 years of teaching by Keshe Foundation. And from there on, we start a new cycle, the 8th year of teaching solidly without failure for 8 years across the internet and the rest. Thank you very much, Rick, and goodbye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. We also have, what do we have? The One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Central European Time next week, and other workshops as they are announced. Okay, I think that's all from this end. So thank you all very much for attending today's 363rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 14th, 2021. See you next time around.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org/donate